Hey guys, I think the smartest thing to do is to start off with an overview of the Hogan swing as I see it, so that you'll have a clear understanding of what we're trying to achieve as I go through the lessons in more detail. So the first thing I want to talk about is the stance. And so Mr. Hogan actually stood pretty tall at address, and he said that you shouldn't have a conscious feeling of reaching out to the ball. But that being said, he didn't have his arms jammed in at his sides either. He kept his elbow pockets pointing up at address as he took his stance. Now, one of the things Mr. Hogan talked about that I thought was interesting is he would want to dig in with the left side of his right foot, kind of like a baseball pitcher getting set up on the mound, because he's going to want to push off of this right foot. Now, once Mr. Hogan addressed the golf ball, what he would want to do is do a one-piece takeaway. He was very clear about this, that the shoulders, arms, and club head move back together in one motion. And he said that if you can do this and imagine your neck as being the center of the wheel of a hub, that the club would prescribe an arc that would be perfectly natural. And I found that the club shoots up right through the right shoulder. Now, it was very important to Mr. Hogan that he didn't let his weight go outside of this leg. He wanted to feel tension on the insides of his legs. So as he rotated, he would put a club at the side of his hip, and as long as that angle stayed the same, he knew that he was doing a good job. I've described this as being inside the letter A. And so he would rotate around this right leg as essentially a post. A lot of people have thought that Mr. Hogan would straighten this leg to get this hip higher, but he said that he wanted to keep the same degree of bend in this right leg as he took the club back. One of the important things that Mr. Hogan talked about in regards to hinging the wrists is he said that this is the way the wrists hinge in the golf swing. Straight up and straight down. And you'll notice if you hinge your wrists up completely, there's going to be a nice little cup in the back of this left hand. That's what he described in Life magazine. So if you can rotate in one-piece takeaway and then hinge the club up, you should be in a good position to come back to the golf ball. Mr. Hogan even said that if you can work on your backswing, that you can actually play golf just by doing a good backswing, because that is going to set up your delivery to the ball. One of the big things that most people have a big problem with, myself included, was I had no understanding of the transition, and I think that very few people actually talk about the transition. But Mr. Hogan said that once he reaches the top of his backswing, the lower body is already starting to make its move. Now, this is something I've referred to as the power stretch in the past, where when we get to the top of the backswing and we're in a full coil, the power stretch occurs by the lower body creating separation, hip-shoulder separation. And what this does is it creates tension all down the left side. And this is going to bring the club into the firing position or hitting position that I call Shangri-La. Now, it's very interesting. I've talked about the three-part swing in the past, and I really do believe this, that the swing takes place in three parts. There's a load, a stretch, and then a release through the golf ball. Mr. Hogan described this as the club getting into a position where everything's ready to fire. I think it's very similar to a batter in baseball. You'll see that they'll get into a position where they can check their swing if they don't want to take a swing at the baseball, but they're ready to fire if they would like to hit it. So this is what we're trying to get to, is a good Shangri-La position. Now, from this position, everything's going to work together. For me, I want to feel a push on the back side of the club, and I want to feel a pull on the left side. So the club is working in a push-pull type of motion through impact. And after that, Mr. Hogan says that everything that happens on the follow-through is simply a consequence of how you set up to hit the ball. So I'll go ahead and hit one. That's not so hard.